Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Impolite Conversations. My name is Leela Sinha, and today I want to start by talking about why it took me so long to get back on camera. It was this. The haircut that I had, the pandemic grown out hair, was giving me a thing called dysphoria. Gender dysphoria, for those of you who don't know, is a thing where it's a condition where the person's outer gender and inner gender don't match up. And as many of you know, I identify as genderqueer, which means I'm not going for like all the way masculine or all the way feminine. And I don't really put a lot of stock in those definitions at all, actually. But what I had wasn't working. And that's true for a lot of folks, right? It's not just folks with gender dysphoria that are having problems with the kind of limitations on our grooming caused by the pandemic. But for those of us with gender dysphoria, it becomes a major mental health issue, or it can. And that was the case for me. So it took me a minute to figure out how to resolve that in a safe way. And I was really conflicted about trying to figure it out. But I did figure it out. I figured it out in a safe way. I got it addressed. And now I can be on camera again without causing myself major mental health issues. So that ties in with what I want to talk about more broadly today, because what I've been thinking about, I've actually taken up sewing in the pandemic. I had done it before, but I've gotten much deeper into it. And the reason I've gotten deeper into it is because clothes that I want to wear don't usually fit me. And the clothes that I can put my body in don't look good on me because they aren't fitted to my body. And that's been a problem my entire life. I'm short, and I'm not the right proportions for whatever the powers that be have decided is right. And that's where I'm going, because if we don't decide that our bodies are right or our bodies are wrong, who gets to decide that? Who has that power? To whom do we give that power? It belongs to the corporations. It belongs to industrialization. It belongs to capitalism. Because once upon a time, not that long ago, all of our clothes were custom stitched, right? If you had a sewn piece of clothing on your body, it was made to fit your body. They measured you, and then they made the clothes according to the shape and size of your body. So you never had that experience of putting on a piece of clothing and having it not fit and kind of being at the mercy of that experience. If you put on a piece of clothing and it didn't fit, it was because you were at the tailor and the tailor was doing a fitting. Or you put on a clothing and it didn't fit and it was already in your wardrobe, and then you took it to the tailor and said, please adjust it. Or you had those skills yourself and you did it yourself, right? You put on a piece of clothing, you're like, oh, this isn't working. And then you let it out or you took it in. And that power has gotten lost, except for the very skilled and the very wealthy, right? That power has gotten lost. And so we walk into a store, we try on clothing, or we order clothing online these days, and it comes to our house and we put it on. And if it doesn't fit, for most of us, our first thought is, my body is wrong. If my body were right, according to whoever designed this, the fit model, the company, the convenience of industrialization, then I would fit in this clothing. And I don't. And therefore, it's my body that's at fault. And I have to do something to change my body so that these clothes made by a stranger who's never seen me before will fit on my body. And if you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it a million times, right? That is backwards and upside down. If the clothes don't fit on your body, that's the fault of the clothes. And what needs to happen is the clothes need to change. The clothes don't care. The fabric doesn't care. It doesn't have an opinion about your shape. It just is. And recapturing the ability to determine that my body is just fine. And if this clothing doesn't fit me, it should change. is the first step. But the second step is, why do we design clothing? Why does fashion give us all these clothes that only fit within like literally an inch, a 1-inch margin, like maybe a 2-inch margin if you're lucky. But most clothes, if they fit you, they're within a 1-inch margin. 1-inch margin of error. That's tiny. That's tiny. And if your clothes don't fit you, you're supposed to go out and buy more clothes. Now, replacing your clothes that often is disrespectful. It's disrespectful to the environment. It's disrespectful to the labor. It's disrespectful to the design, frankly. And it treats the entire process of crafting something as intimate as clothing that goes against our skin as disposable. So I started to imagine what could be instead. And in order to do that, I looked back, because the first time that I encountered clothing that accommodated my body through a range of sizes was when I was in India when I was 24, and I was wearing traditional Indian clothing most of the time. And that meant that I was wearing saris, which are draped clothing, or much more often, kurta and pajama. Kurta is a loose tunic. Pajama is a loose drawstring waist pair of pants that goes under the kurta. I was wearing kurta, pajama, and saris. And they both adjusted. I didn't have to buy clothes, even though I changed size significantly over that year. I didn't have to buy new clothes. I kept wearing the same exact outfits that I bought when I arrived. And I came home and I was like, wait, but what? Why? Why can't I fit into my clothing if I change size by like an inch and a half? That doesn't seem right. Right. So I started thinking about that when I came home from that trip about 20 years ago. That was 20 years ago. And I've been thinking about it ever since. And then when I came back around to it, I started asking myself, what did Europeans do when clothing was precious, when cloth was precious? Because one of the things that's beautiful about Indian clothing is that a lot of it can be made with these precious, ornate, carefully handcrafted ornamentations, because I can wear the same sari my grandmother wore. I have saris in my wardrobe. I have about 35 now. I have saris in my wardrobe that belonged to my grandmother, that she wore, that she enjoyed. She's like this tall and this wide, and I fit into the same clothes that she fits into. And so you can put a lot of time and energy into these things. And I started collecting ones that are hand spun and hand woven. Hand spun and hand woven and light fabric. And I don't have a problem with that, because I'm not going to throw those clothes out. They're going to get worn until they get worn out and made over into something else, or they're going to get worn until I pass them on to someone else. So I started asking, what did the Europeans do? And if you go back and look, what the Europeans did was a lot of lacing. Corsets, bodices, breeches, lacing. Lacing in the back, lacing in the front, lacing on the sides. And loose. Loose like the kurta, only sometimes looser than that. Loose and laced. So there's usually a loose underlayer and then a laced overlayer that helps it be fitted, stay warmer, be more durable. So I got into making shirts, 18th century men's shirts, pirate shirts. And now I'm kind of walking myself through the evolution of fit, because there's got to be a happy medium. If you just make clothes out of a rectangle, they don't fit that well. If they're draped, they fit pretty well. If you start sewing on rectangles, they don't fit that well. And so you have to kind of tweak and adjust and tweak and adjust. And that's how we ended up going from all the fabric gathered into the neckline to fabric gathered into the shoulders to fabric gathered into a yoke on the shoulders to et cetera, et cetera. So I'm learning how to strike a balance between clothes that are so fitted that they have no room for adjustment, and clothes that are so unfitted that they don't feel comfortable. There's middle ground. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to own the rights to my body. I want my partners to own the rights to their bodies. I want my friends and my colleagues and the whole world to own the rights to their own bodies. The right to say, my body is correct the way it is. My body is right the way it is. As Trans Lifeline advertised a few years ago, you're born perfect. You're fine just the way you are. Whatever that is, you're fine. And your clothes don't have the right to tell you that you're wrong. Industrialization does not have the right to tell you that you're wrong. You know why your shirt's missing an inch? It's probably missing an inch because that was the convenient way to get two of them out of one width of fabric. It was cheaper that way. It was more efficient that way. You know why the curves and gussets aren't the way they used to be in shirts? Because curves and gussets take time, they take energy, they take skill. And industrialization and capitalism don't like time, energy, and skill. Those are expensive. They cut into the profit margin. They're not convenient. But here's the bottom line. We humans, we alive humans, we are not meant to be convenient. We are not meant to be easy. There's no way that life is uncomplicated. Life is transformation and mess and growth and unexpected. Life is becoming. Life is constantly becoming. If you're not constantly becoming, you're dead. We are not convenient. We are not convenient. We are alive. Thank you for joining me.